All right, welcome to the show. So, been a long time, but I just felt like I needed to get out some of my thoughts on the NBA playoffs and the NFL draft coming up tomorrow. Yeah, it's been this is first. I just want to start. This is one of my favorite parts of the year. April, we get the end of the NCAA tournament, the Masters, the basketball playoffs start, the hockey playoffs. We get the NFL draft starting tomorrow. Like this is probably my favorite time of year. I think I've said this before, but I love football season. I love October, but uh, April is pretty awesome just because of it's kind of the start of everything, and I love the NBA playoffs. It's probably my favorite thing that over 2.5 months that we get to watch. So I'm really looking forward to this. But I just have a lot of thoughts, and so here we go. So here's my basketball takes. So look, I think that this is pretty much an extension of last year's thoughts about the Oklahoma City Thunder. I don't understand why the media just wants to pick against them. I know they're the clear betting favorites to win the championship, but in every series it feels like people would like somebody else to win. Like I understand Oklahoma City's not that exciting. I get it. People would rather watch Wembanyama for the Spurs. They'd rather watch Anthony Edwards with Minnesota. They'd rather watch the Celtics. They'd rather watch the Lakers. I get that. They're not Oklahoma City's not going to be the favorite team, but we can keep denying it, but they're still the best team. That may not last too much longer, but for right now, they're still the best team. Um, so all right, so I'm gonna go. That's my overall thought on who's gonna win the title. I just I think it's pretty clear. I think San Antonio is the only team that has a chance to beat Oklahoma City. I don't think anyone else is even going to come close. Um, so that's number one. Uh, my second major thought is the Eastern Conference sucks. I mean, let's just. I know we want to root for all these teams, and there's all the New Yorkers that want the Knicks to win, and all the Boston fans want the Celtics to win. Guys, the Eastern Conference is just bad. Like it's been this way since the turn of the 21st century, and it really hasn't changed. And I hate to reduce it to just one thing and just say, well, the West is just better than the East, but it just is. Like, I'm sorry. Like I've watched these Eastern Conference teams. Like Orlando, basically almost has basically a better team than Detroit. They just don't play like it all the time. Like, and that's your number one seed. So Boston just lost a humiliating game to Philadelphia last night. I mean, it's typical. It's the Celtics losing playoff games the exact same way they lost them last year. They just jack it up from three. If they're going in, great. If they're not, they're in trouble. So yeah, I'm gonna. So these are my thoughts on each Eastern Conference team and why they're not going to win the title. Somebody has to win the East, right? But whoever wins it is basically just going to be plant food in the finals. So Detroit Pistons, they're the number one seed. They basically have one guy that can score, one reliable scorer. Cade Cunningham's awesome. I love him. But the rest of their team is really, half court, deficient. And they don't have a whole lot of other moves to go to. Detroit's basically going to try to beat you up. And if they can, then they can beat you and they'll have just enough offense to win. But, in that first game against Orlando, though, Detroit's defense was the problem. So I think they can fix that. I still think they can come back and win the series. I don't know what the hell Orlando was doing. Like, honestly, like Orlando didn't play like that the entire season. Then they show up in this game. They play that game. They lose to Philadelphia. Then they play Charlotte. They kick their ass. And they come out and play their asses off against Detroit. So I'm confused, but Detroit's not a championship team. Okay, Boston. Look, Boston had a really nice season. Boston is your classic. They overachieved with the team they have because they lost, all their good, all-star level players, and they replaced them with a bunch of role players, and they're fine. This team plays hard every night, but that's what they are. They're a team that plays hard every night. They got to play that way every night to win, and we're in the playoffs now and everybody plays hard. So I I just don't think the Celtics ceiling is as high as everybody thinks it is. Yes, if they make 22 3-point shots in a game, sure, they're going to beat pretty much everybody. But that's kind of the way basketball is. So, I think it's typical with the Celtics. It's the way they play is going to come back to bite them. But I'm not sure that anybody in the Eastern Conference can bite them. So we'll see. The New York Knicks, nothing's really changed. They changed the coach, but they're still not a championship team. Like they have a really good point guard and some other good, mostly role players. That's what the whole rest of the team is. And they have a lot of limitations. I just don't see how the New York Knicks, now, could they beat Boston? Sure. They match up pretty well with Boston, and we saw it last year. So they could beat Boston. I'm not saying that they can't make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. And maybe win the East depending on who they have to play. But no, they're not that great on defense. And they've got, teams are just going to go after Towns and Brunson. And when you have Karl Anthony Towns on your team, he's going to screw things up at some point. He's going to be up, he's going to be down. And the first two games of that series are a perfect example. Awesome in game one, they win. Not so good in game two. They let Atlanta come back and beat them. So, no, I don't know what the Knicks are doing, and they need to get in the game to try to trade for Giannis because the way they're constructed is not going to win championships. It's just not. The only reason they're getting as far as they are is because they're in the Eastern Conference, which I've stated. Cleveland, that's the fourth seed in the East. Look, they're depending on James Harden, and when you depend on James Harden, that's what happens. So Cleveland, I just think is going to come to a point. I think they're going to beat Toronto pretty easily, and maybe they can beat Detroit. But at a certain point, they're going to be depending on James Harden in a critical game, and he's going to disappear like he usually does. Now, maybe Donovan Mitchell makes up for it. Maybe I'm selling Cleveland short, but because they are in the Eastern Conference, why can't they win it? Okay, anybody can. I think any of these four teams could win the conference. I also think it's really matchup dependent. I think Detroit should have beaten the Knicks last year. I think Detroit would have a really good chance to beat New York this year. I think New York has a chance to beat Boston. I think Boston would beat Detroit. But I think Boston would struggle with New York. I think Cleveland can probably beat Detroit. I don't think they can beat Boston. So I just think it kind of comes down to that. And maybe Cleveland, maybe they're in the right spot. Maybe they beat Detroit in the second round, and maybe they're in the conference finals, and who knows what happens at that point. So you could convince me any of these four teams could make it. If you put a gun to my head, I would take the Celtics, but I don't feel great about it. Okay, let's talk about the Western Conference, where the NBA champion is going to come from. Look, I think I already stated about Oklahoma City. The only thing that worries me about them is they were injured a lot this year and they missed a lot of games. So they didn't play with their full lineup a lot, but they have their full lineup now and everybody's healthy. So, we'll see if Jalen Williams starts playing the way he did last year. If he gets anywhere near that, I think they're going to win the title, but I'm not even really sure they need him to play that way. I think they can win the title anyway. The only team that's a problem matchup for them is San Antonio. And even with that, I still think in the playoffs, Oklahoma City is going to figure it out. So, yeah, I just think I know people are, don't like SGA getting all the fouls and all that stuff, but Michael Jordan got calls, LeBron James gets calls, Kobe Bryant got the calls, Dwayne Wade got the calls. The best players get the calls. That's just the way it is. So you can get mad about it, but this isn't any different than any other championship team. San Antonio, look, I think San Antonio is young, and that's really the thing that's probably going to hold them back. I think they're going to struggle in a series against Denver. That's a tough matchup for them. We'll see if Denver makes it to that point. Right now, I think they can beat Portland even if Wemby's not healthy, and hopefully Wemby can come back and play like himself. But obviously, without Wemby, they have no shot to win anything. So yeah, I think. But that being young in the playoffs and in the NBA, that is a problem, and that's something that can come back to bite you because it's a lot of games you got to win and a lot of times you have to beat another team. Look, and I'm by no means rooting for Oklahoma City to win. I like Oklahoma City, but I'm not really rooting for them to win. I'm actually rooting for Denver. Denver, I really like. I hope they can win, but Denver's defense, like against Minnesota so far, has been pretty bad. Now Minnesota matches up really well with them, so maybe that's just a matchup thing, and they're just really going to struggle with them. But I think Denver has a decent shot. I put on here, I think they've got about a 40% chance to beat San Antonio, but I don't think Denver's beating Oklahoma City in any universe. Their defense just is not. It's just not good enough. So let's see who else we got. Okay, so the Lakers are the 4 seed. Look, everyone's going to give the Lakers all this credit for beating the Rockets. Houston is bad. Like Houston's just terrible. They have no idea what they're doing on offense. The Lakers are just making them look bad. But this by no means is. I think it's hysterical if the Lakers beat Houston in 5 games. People are going to be thrilled about LA and say, "Oh, well, they got a shot to beat Oklahoma City." I don't care who comes back. I don't care who they've got. Everybody healthy on their team. They have no shot at beating Oklahoma City. They're going to get obliterated. Okay, Oklahoma City is going to just wipe them out on defense. Luka's going to do his thing. I don't disagree with. I don't think, that'll be a good thing for the Lakers. Luka's going to score a lot of points. He's going to do some damage against them, but they're not beating Oklahoma City in a series. Ain't no way, no how. But I think we're giving the Lakers a little bit too much credit for the way they're playing against Houston. Houston's not a good team. They're just not good on offense, and I don't think the Lakers' defense is that much better just because they don't have Luka and Austin Reeves. Those guys are out. Yeah, but I will give credit to LeBron. LeBron is doing what LeBron does. LeBron's doing what he's done for 22 years, and it's pretty cool. I do like JJ Redick is actually showing to be a pretty good coach, and I do like what the Lakers are doing, but guys, this is just Oklahoma City's world. So that being said, like I would say Oklahoma City and Boston in the finals, and I think Oklahoma City is going to win it. But what I will say is, looking at how the league is right now, if you're an NBA team, this is the last year. This is the last year the rest of you guys are going to be able to win titles before San Antonio, figures it out. I think they're gonna own the league coming up here, if not next, probably next year, but if not the year after that for sure. I think we're coming down to the end where you guys are going to have any shot, because once, Wemby's already figuring it out and he's going to get a little bit stronger. He's going to get a little bit better on offense. And once he does, sayonara, guys, everybody's done. Say goodnight. So we'll see how it goes. But that being said, I also do think this is funny, just as kind of a sports media criticism. I do think it's funny. Everybody knew what was going to happen in these series. No, they have no chance. And that's after all the game one. It's like, it's a waste of time. We know which series are over and which ones are going to be competitive. And by game 2, we're all like, oh, we didn't know that. Nobody thought Philly was going to beat Boston. Nobody thought that, it looked like Denver was going to run away from Minnesota. Minnesota wins game 2. So I think that's pretty interesting. Like this is, we all think the NBA is pretty self-explanatory, but things happen, man. In 7-game series, you never know. So, those are my NBA thoughts. If anybody has ideas or you want to tell me why I'm wrong, I'd love to hear it. Always love feedback. But that being said, I'm not wrong. Moving on to the NFL draft. All right, so my big picture statement about the NFL draft. This is a bad draft. Like it's not, first of all, it's not that interesting from an entertainment standpoint. It's pretty weak in terms of talent. The combination of guys staying in school because they can get paid, has definitely affected the draft pool. Plus all the guys changing teams all the time. It makes it really hard to evaluate them. So yeah, I think once you get past the top 10 picks, it's a crapshoot. You have no idea what's going to happen. And so I'm interested from the standpoint of somebody who follows the league, follows the NFL. I'm interested to see how this goes and what happens, but I'm not going to be enthralled after we get past the 10th pick. I do think there's a chance somebody could trade into the top 10. So that could be interesting, but after that, I don't see a lot of stuff. I just think it's kind of like take the best player available. There's, the difference between the 15th player and the 45th player is really not a big difference. So we'll see. I also think picks in the 2027 draft are going to have really, really good value. So I think you're going to see some teams try to trade out of this draft to try to get picks in next year's draft. And now if I was another team, I would not give away a pick in the 2027 draft because it's going to be loaded. Not just quarterbacks. So we're talking overall. It's going to be fantastic. So yeah, that's my general thing about it. I do think it will be interesting. But here are some individual thoughts. I really like Fernando Mendoza as the number one pick. I think he's got a chance to be really good, honestly. But I'm not blown away. I don't think he's like A+. I don't think he's a 10 out of 10. Like if John Elway and Peyton Manning are a 10, then I think this guy's about an 8. I think he's good. I think he's got a chance to be really good, but I don't think he's like special or anything. But this is just going to come down to how are the Raiders going to be intelligent about this? Do the general manager and the new coach, do they know what they're doing? Because that's what this is going to come down to. If they do their jobs correctly, Mendoza might be really good. But I think it all depends on what happens with this situation. I think he's got a chance to be really good if he's in the right situation. If not, then we're all going to be wondering what's going on. But I think he's got I really like him. I think he's really got a chance to do some damage. But yeah, it's just going to come down to what happens there. The other thing is, I think one of the really interesting things here is who's going to draft Jeremiah Love, because I really don't know, honestly. Like, it came out this week, Arizona's talking about trading for him or taking him at 3. I don't really buy it. I think Arizona's that's a smokescreen. I think Arizona's trying to get people to come up and trade with them. So I think that's why that's the whole reason they announced that. I don't think he's going to go there. I'm not sure. I think he goes somewhere between 4 and 10. I don't know about the Tennessee thing. Like, I understand the idea behind it. Well, we got a quarterback, let's get a running back. But if they can't block, I really don't think it matters. I don't think the Giants are going to take him at 5. I don't think Cleveland's going to take him at 6. And I hope he doesn't go to Cleveland. But I don't think, just in terms of what they do, I don't think they're going to take him. But I think Washington at 7, New Orleans at 8, Kansas City at 9. There's an opportunity there for all those teams to take him. But I think he's fascinating because I think a lot of people have him as the best player in the draft, and he's definitely not going number 1. But I'm not sure. And if he starts to fall, look out for somebody to move up to get him. If he gets to 7, 8, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody goes up to try to get him, because I think the guy has a chance to be a superstar. So I think that's a really interesting thing. The other thing, the guy that might fall a little bit is Caleb Downs, the safety from Ohio State. He's a blue chip, 5-star A+ guy, but he's a safety. So he's not at a premium position. So I think he might end up going to a team that actually might be pretty good. So I think that's a pretty interesting one there too. But man, I tell you what, it's not a good running back draft outside of Jeremiah Love, of course. It's not a good quarterback draft. This draft has lots of pass rushers. It's got a handful of offensive linemen and some receivers. Outside of that, I'm not even sure. I'm not even sure how you draft for need. I just think you just take who you think might be good or fit your team. And I think teams are going to do that. I think teams are going to take guys that they like, that fit what they do, and they're not going to worry about where they're mocked or any of that, because I don't think there's that many good players in this draft that make a huge difference. As for my team, the Miami Dolphins, look, the Dolphins need to be bad next year. They should be bad, because they have basically no talent right now. Now they have 7 picks in the top 100. So obviously they're going to draft a bunch of guys who will probably be starters. But I just hope this team stinks next year and tries to lose as many games as possible. And that's why I don't like the Malik Willis acquisition. I just don't think this is the best idea, because they're drafting a guy. I understand they're getting him relatively inexpensive. I get that. And it's only a 2-year deal. I get it. But I really don't get the point. Like, do we want it? Are we going to allow ourselves to be bad so we can draft a quarterback in 2027 or not? because I'm really hoping that this team is tanking, but I think the coach and the general manager, I don't think they feel that way. I think they're sitting there going, well, we're going to win games. And I just have it's an institutional, it's like PTSD. I have a fear with the Dolphins that we're going to do the same thing we always do, which is we're just going to try to be good. We're going to be average, and we're going to get stuck with a quarterback who can't win anything, and it's just like if we win 6 or 7 games next year with Malik Willis, everyone's going to talk themselves into him. We're going to be like, oh, we'll bring him back for another year. And then we're going to try to sign him to a long-term deal. And it's just going to be a mistake. We got to stop accepting average and try to be great. And in order to do that, you're going to have to take your lumps. So I pray with both hands that the Dolphins can, just be bad next year. Don't go crazy trying to get a bunch of guys to win, 7 or 8 games. It's a complete waste of time. And so it's just we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I hope, this team is bad right now. I kind of hope that they stay that way, because then I don't think Malik Willis is the answer. Maybe I'm pessimistic. Maybe I need to give the guy a chance, and we'll give him a chance next year. But the guy has no chance to do anything because the team is so bad. So I just don't. Those are the things I vacillate between. The organization is going to try to win, and it doesn't matter because the team's going to be so bad. The quarterback, there's no way the quarterback will look good, so we won't even know if he's any good at all because the team around him is so bad. So yeah, so we'll see. But anyway, I'll be jacked up, man. I will have everything on. I will be watching all the basketball, all the hockey, and I'm going to try to. I'm going to try to get back on here maybe Sunday and, tell you what I think, give you a little review of the draft, and we'll see where we're at. But yeah, so those are my takes for today. It's for Wednesday, and thanks everybody for tuning in. Let me know what you think.